Heavy metal rock.
Global mind.
I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on My Global Mind, I'm pleased to be speaking with hard-rocking blues guitarist Anthony Gomes for his newest album, Praise the Loud, which will be out on April 25th. Welcome, and thank you so much again. It's a pleasure to always speak with you.
Oh, man, what a great time for me, too. And I think you're in Jersey, right? Or out on the East Coast? Yeah, man.
I've been waiting for you to come out this way. You haven't made it out this way.
We're going to change that. We're going to change that. Yeah, for sure. Because we have a lot of fans in Jersey, and they are a special breed of rock and roll fans.
They are.
They're hardcore.
They
are hardcore. I love Jersey fans, man. And passionate is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think people who go to the concerts really want to enjoy it and really want to have a good time. And I think that brings a special magic, when bands show up. So it's always great.
Yeah. So we'll get there for sure in this cycle. We'll get there.
And I do a lot of photography, so I'd love to come out and do a review and take some pictures of you so I could post it with our next interview.
Sold. Hey, let me call our agent right now.
That's great. Well, I love the new album, and I thought it was a great title. As soon as I opened up the link that your publicist sent, and I was like, oh my God, Praise the Loud. That is fantastic. And the title, you have a title song also, Praise the Loud. Well, did that start off as Praise the Lord and you kind of changed it, or was it always Praise the Loud?
I've always been a fan of gospel music. I love gospel. I love the devil's music and I love the Lord's music. Right?
Yeah.
Music, but to me, it was always a pun on praise the Lord.
Right.
And in a respectful way, of course.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix used to say that his concerts were an electric church.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of feel a similarity to church when you've got a pastor at a church and you've got the lead singer in a band and you've got your congregation and you need people that come to the shows. They got to get healed. And, with blues rock and roll, you do it with Marshall Stack amplifiers. So to me, it was sort of like, oh, this is an interesting, praise the loud, praise the Lord idea and combining those two things together. And because, for me, rock and roll and blues is a spiritual thing.
Right.
And so it just seemed like a natural thing. I'm a big AC/DC fan. So in my litmus test, would AC/DC, would they approve? And I thought, yeah, I think they would. So
they would have. Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't even think of AC/DC for doing that. They could have pulled that off too. They do a lot of that similar stuff, Hell's Bells and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah, it's funny. I used to play guitar in church. I guess when I was stopped doing bands and before I got married, I did the folk group and I played guitar, and it was a lot of fun. And it just kept my chops up, So I did enjoy it. So I get the hard rock, I get the devil, and I get the Lord. I love it all. It's music. As long as it's got melody, I'm good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you.
The architecture of this album appears to be very comfortable and instinctual, and even from the guitar work to the singing. And I was wondering if the creative process was freeing as it sounds.
With our last album, High Voltage Blues,
yep,
it was the first time that I really embraced both sides of the road, meaning the rock side and then the blues side. My whole career, people were saying, you're not rock enough, or you're too rock for blues, or you're too blues for rock. And after a while, it really affected my creativity in the way that I always felt this voice on my shoulder saying, oh, you got to tone it down, or you got to do this. And with our previous album, I was like, you know what? If I want to do two-hand tapping, like Eddie Van Halen might do, I'm going to do it in a blues song. I don't care. And I think that sincerity, and I was never being, disingenuine or whatever, but I think that sincerity really resonated with people. So to me, Praise the Loud is like a love letter to blues and rock and roll.
Right.
It's and my comfort in being in both of those places. And the interesting thing, Robert, is what I thought was my greatest liability ended up being my superpower.
Oh, cool.
The thing that made me different wasn't bad. It was something that was good.
Yep.
So if there's any artists watching this, if whatever people tell you is bad about you, double down on it. Like, do it twice as much, accentuate and exaggerate it. So
That's true.
yeah.
At work we always say it's an opportunity. We're not allowed to say it's a problem. We're just saying it's an opportunity to do X or to move forward. So we're always talking about that. Speaking of the two-handed tapping, you do that. I can't remember the name of the song, but on this album, you do it on a song at the end of one of the songs on the outro. Which one was it? It was really noticeable. And now I can't think of the title. It escapes me.
Yeah, I know I did it a bunch of times.
But when I heard it, I was like, oh, he's got a little Eddie Van Halen. And then I forgot to write it down. And then I forgot to put it down. But you reminded me.
Yeah. I mean, we all loved Eddie Van Halen. And I love John Lee Hooker, I'm quoting both. And to me, that's the weird thing, Robert. It's like people put this definite division between blues and rock. And to me, they're the most united forms of like, when did blues stop being blues and become rock and roll? To me, they've just been cousins the whole time. So it's a real strange thing to say, oh, no, but that's blues, that's not rock, or that's not rock, that's blues. Well, you ever heard a Cream record or a Zeppelin record? Where does that start and stop? So yeah.
In the song "Rock and Roll Bluesman," you mentioned that the music chose you, right?
Yes.
So when did you get turned on to the blues, and how did it morph into hard rocking blues?
So my journey began by loving hard rock. I was a kid from the Toronto suburbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and Dio was my first concert with Vivian Campbell. Oh, I mean, and I still love that so much, But I was noticing I was going more down the road of Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so one day I said, I want to get a proper blues album. So I took 2 buses in the subway to downtown to the Sam the Record Man store, went to the store, Live at the Regal. And I took the subway home, 2 buses home, and I put it on the CD player, and I instantly found home.
Wow.
I don't know how to describe it. I always felt like with music, I was on the outside. You have beautiful windows in your home. So I'm thinking I was the guy on the outside looking in, right?
Yeah.
But with the blues, I was where you were sitting. I was in the middle. I wasn't outside looking through the window. I was in there and I understood it. And I understood Jimi Hendrix in a way that I hadn't, because Jimmy had listened to BB and took it on his path. So I found the further back I went to the source, you could take that and then decide to go straight for a while, then make a left turn, make a right turn. Once you're at the essence of something, you're more able to find your own stamp on it. So that was huge for me. And then the next day, I took 2 buses and a subway, and I got a Buddy Guy album. and then I went back home and I got hooked, and I just fell in love with that music. And then fast forward later on, I loved both styles. So I was the guy that would, on Tuesday night, I'd listen to Zakk Wylde, and on Wednesday night, I'd be listening to Robert Johnson, and without really seeing a distinction to those things.
Were you playing guitar at the time, or you were just a music fan? What?
No, I mean, I got into the blues in my late teens. So I had already started to play guitar, and I was in some bands. And, like a lot of us, you read interviews with the Rolling Stones, and they're talking about, Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. And bass player in our band, his girlfriend's brother was really into blues. And he's like, you should check out Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. And So, you know, I started to listen to those things all about at the same time. And yeah, it's just been a really very cool journey.
You know, you touched upon this in one of your earlier responses, but how do you see hard rock and blues fit in the music world today? Do you think it's becoming more acceptable? Do you think it's people are more interested in it than before?
Um, that's an interesting question because I'm not sure I know the answer. I know our act is getting a lot more popular,
Mhm.
and we have blues fans and rock fans. Um,
And you have the YouTube video had like 1 million views, right?
yeah, I mean,
It's
things have been kind of going crazy lately. Um, I just think that with the blues, every so often there's somebody that reminds the general public that blues is good. You know, whether it's Bonnie Raitt or Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Joe Bonamassa. There are these artists that come, you know, every 5 to 10 years, and they remind the mainstream folks that, hey, you know, blues is cool. And maybe in some small way, um, we're enabling that because our music speaks to rock people as well as blues people.
true, very true. Speaking of Stevie Ray Vaughan, quick note, I met him 1 million years ago. He was playing in New York City at the Pier. Joe Satriani was opening up for him. We met, we were didn't go to the show, but we were hanging out around the show and we met some girls. And one of the girls was quote unquote a promoter or a publicist. And she took us into the Lone Star Cafe at the time and somehow introduced us to him. So there was before cell phone cameras. This we're talking,
Yeah.
the 90s, the early 90s. So that was a pretty cool experience to say hello to him and just he actually stood up and he shook my hand, which was really nice. Very
What
nice.
a nice, amazing. I saw Stevie twice.
Wow.
Very lucky. I saw one show. I'm surprised I didn't quit playing guitar. It was Jeff Healey opening up Jeff Beck and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
God, it was either going to inspire you or depress you so you wouldn't play anymore.
Yeah.
But I saw him a second time, and he was playing Riviera Paradise. And you know, back in those days, Robert, it's not like today where everybody knows when the album's coming out. You wouldn't do an interview before the album would come out. It would come out, you'd hear it on the radio 2 weeks later and go, oh, gee, I guess, you know, Stevie's got a new album. You go to the record store. Well, anyway, his Instep had only been out a week. And there he is playing it in front of 20,000 people. So everybody's sitting down. I love to stand up at a show, but everybody's
Yeah.
sitting down.
I like to stand
Except,
up.
yeah, man. Except, well, you're, of course, you're from Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Come
We all
on.
stand up.
Yeah. Except these two guys that are still standing up. So I yell, sit down. My buddy yells, sit down. Somebody in front of us yelled, sit down, because you want to sit down and watch him play this beautiful ballad. So all of a sudden, I have at times a loud voice. So I went, sit down. And I felt the sound come from my voice. Like it was almost like Zeus, you know, from the mountaintop. And we were 18th row floors. Sit down. Stevie Ray Vaughan looks directly at me
Oh shit.
and sits down on the stage
Oh my
and
God.
plays the rest of the song on the stage. And that was in Toronto, Canada. So he's probably thinking, these crazy Canadians. But you know, as a guitar player, it's easier to play
Yeah.
when you're sitting down and you can get really into the instrument. So he was probably like, oh, they want me to sit down and really like vibe on this. But he sat on the stage. What a cool thing, man.
Oh my God, that is funny. That's a great
Yeah.
story. Great remembrance too.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much of your songs and riffs creation comes out of the guitar and amp combo and picking it or just noodling around with different guitars at home and different amps at home?
Um, you know, I have a cheap $100 Black Star, and like
They're great amps.
really,
They're really
yeah,
good.
yeah, and I have some like usually I'll jam on a Strat with a humbucker at home because they're real easy to play,
Yeah.
or and that's usually the inspiration. Like occasionally, but not very often, do I doodle on the guitar and something comes up. It's usually something I hear in my head.
Wow.
Maybe because I'm a singer as well, that I've evolved that. But I'll this is something I've never shared, but to me, I try to get inspiration like the original blues singers. They used to do field hollers, which was like back in the day, and they'd be singing, I'm gonna make my getaway, make my getaway. I'm gonna make my getaway, and and it's just the voice, right? And this pulse. Well, I try to write riffs in that way. So I'm thinking, what is the pulse? What's the emotion? I'm gonna make that. So to me, it's just a vocal thing, and then then I'll say, okay, what is that on the guitar?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that's in me, frees me from the confines of the guitar because as a guitar player, you well know, Robert, you can get stuck in patterns and then you get stale. But if you can do things to try something different, it can be very inspiring and take you down paths you wouldn't go as a strict guitar player.
Very cool. Is there anything that you did on this album that was new, that was really out of your comfort zone?
Yes, I did this vocal scream at the end of Praise the Loud that is like, beckons to Rob Halford and Robert Plant. And now I have to do that stupid scream live every night at the top of my range. But that was different, that real screaming falsetto.
Right.
I've never done that. I don't know if that's ever been done on a blues rock record before or a contemporary blues rock record. But so yeah, it was that was definitely something different, sure.
And I agree with you. Your voice is like another instrument on the album, and in line with the guitar and the vocals. The lyrics are great too. They also leave some room for like, what direction is he going, or what's the meaning behind that? It's a little bit double entendres a lot of times. Is that the case when you're writing?
For me, every song has an. So when I went to school and I studied philosophy and stuff, I was taught the concept of esoteric versus exoteric, which means there's in every song I have, there's a surface thing, but there's also a deeper thing. And so, a lot of times people were like, who wrote those lyrics? A 14-year-old? But yes, my inner 14-year-old. But underneath that, there's also another underlining. I think that's what makes art good, is that if there's something deeper. For example, on another album, I had a song called Room 414, and that was just about, raising hell and partying and all that. But Room 414 was actually where Robert Johnson recorded all of his music in a hotel room in San Antonio. So if you understand that, juxtaposed against the lyrics, those lyrics now mean something different. And whether you're conscious of that or not as a listener, I think that the fact that it's there somehow makes you subconsciously recognize, even if you don't recognize it at first listen.
It's so true. I didn't recognize a lot of the stuff at first listen when Kevin gave it to me, and I was listening to the song in general. And then I started to delve into the lyrics, and I was like, oh, that's cool. What could that mean? And what could this mean? The one song about I had 28 wives. I had 28 husbands, but only I was married to 2 of them. Something that was really funny, great stuff. And it took you by surprise after you hear it, like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Very clever. I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Well, Bon Scott is such a hero of mine in his lyrics, and ZZ Top. And then there's a great bluesman named Albert Collins, and he would always interject humor in his songs. And I think humor, sometimes people don't take you seriously if you write a funny song or a novelty song. Yeah. But I find humor is huge. And also, too, if you want to make something I've learned by performing live, if you want to make a very serious point, do so right after a fun song, a humorous song, because that disarms everybody. Whatever agenda they have, they're sort of left to the side and they're just chilled and everybody's laughing together. It's a community, and then you can hit them right between the eyes with something pretty deep, and it's impacting.
That's the entertainer in you.
Yeah, it's something, Robert. It's something. I'll tell you that.
Like that comes from, working hard in the clubs and the bars and,
Yeah,
reading people while you're playing. It's pretty intuitive. Speaking of Scott, funny lyrics, big balls, right?
yeah. Oh my
I mean,
God, big ball.
you don't get any cooler. We thought that was the coolest thing when we were teenagers. Oh my God, he said big balls. I was like,
Oh yeah, 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 man. Yeah, he was such a hero. Dirty deeds done to cheap. I
yeah,
mean,
balls.
just you know, um, yeah, just crazy stuff, man.
Some of that's missing nowadays from music too, I think. Some the humor or the double entendres and the fun of it. Sometimes it's very serious and the albums are very constructed and worked hard. People work so hard, but sometimes you gotta go a little loose and have a little fun with the stuff, I think. It brings some levity to the whole album.
Yeah, I had a teacher of mine once say, it's called playing music for a reason, and it's got to be fun. Yeah, of course you take it seriously,
Yeah.
and I can understand too. It wasn't only later on in my career where I started to embrace these quote unquote dumb songs, as I call them, but they're the ones people love, man.
Right.
We have a song called White Trash Princess,
Mhm.
and we were in Denmark in February, and here we are, and there's this guy, and oh man, he's been drinking pretty heavily, and he's like, play that song about the white trash girl, and I'm like, this is the culture we are bringing to the world. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Uh,
At least he knew what it was. That was good, right?
he knew what it was, and but he thought it was funny, and it was permission to let everybody um, be themselves, and
Yeah.
that was a cool thing.
And that's what I would expect at one of your shows, just a good time.
Yeah.
I want to be respectful to your time. I got one last question. With every release, an artist like yourself has some self-discovery. It goes on a journey. What was the most meaningful thing that you learned about yourself while you were working on this album?
Oh man, it's so fresh that maybe I may need a little time and perspective to truly answer that question. And what an excellent question. Um, as I mentioned before, this album was really uh, a process of self-discovery as an artist and very liberating. The past 2 years, Robert, I've been doing this for 25 years,
Mhm.
and the first 23 were lean. they were tough.
Yeah.
We were playing to the same 75 people every year. Every time we'd be in Syracuse, New York, it'd be the same 75 people. Every time we were in Boise, Idaho, the same 75 people. And people would always say, don't give up, man, don't give up. And the great thing about that is we've watched these people's kids grow up. We've gone to their house for dinner.
Wow.
We've slept on their couch. We have friends, literal friends, all across America and the world. And now that we're growing and these new fans are coming in, this fan base is adopting them. And to watch that and to see that, and to allow myself to be 100% who I am without fear of judgment, um, that's been, I think, the journey on this album and the high voltage blues tour. Just saying, it's okay to be different artistically, and you know, everybody wants you to fit in. They want you to fit into your box. Even now with this album, it's like some people don't know where to put us because we're not new metal, we're not blues, and but my feeling is everybody wants you to fit in. But why try to fit in when you can stand out? That's the thing that I've learned. And it's not the easy path. It may take you 25 years to get there, but it's the honest way. And to just trust and believe in that. Because truthfully, the album hasn't come out, but I'm a little scared because it's way more amped up than anything we've done. And I know some people in the traditional blues community are not going to, it's not going to resonate with them, but I have to trust and believe and have faith in what feels right. And that's taken a long time to get to.
Well, that's a great response. Well, when you come to New Jersey, I'm going to bring a bunch of my friends to your show. We love guitar. We love hearing singing, good singing. So we will be there. And you come over to my house and you have dinner. All right.
Oh, man. Hell yeah. Right on. You got it. You got it.
Anthony, I want to thank you so much for your time. I wish you the most success with the album. I think it's a tremendous rock album, blues album. I really enjoy it. And I've been listening to it ever since Kevin sent it to me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your time and the tremendous job you do. And us artists owe you a big debt of gratitude for helping us get the word out. So thank you sincerely, Robert.
My
so
pleasure.
much.
I always enjoy it.
Right on, brother. We'll see you soon in Jersey. Start cooking.
We'll call you a Jersey boy.
You're right on. Hell yeah. Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.
Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.